This is the Inspection Pro Joe podcast, where we break down everything you need to know to grow a successful home inspection company. Join hosts Joey and Jake as they share insider knowledge and chat with the industry's best on how to take your business to the next level.
This program is brought to you by Pair Payments.
Welcome back to Inspection Pro Joe, episode 25. Today we have with us Lance Dunahoe, the CEO and owner of Inspect 360 and Real Producer Magazine. Lance, we're very happy to have you here today. You have a very interesting story, and then you have a lot of insight into some of the things we've been talking about in the last few episodes about growth, and you have a lot of insight in customer experience that we're very excited to touch upon today.
Well, I'm looking forward to it. Thanks so much for having me, Jake and Joey. It's just great to see you. And yeah, this is going to be fun.
All right.
Yeah, we're really excited to have you on here, Lance. I've known you for about a couple years now. You're a great guy, great business owner, and you have an incredible business in Texas. And I love what you're doing on the marketing side. And I know we're going to touch on all that, but we're just lucky to have you, and our listeners are going to really get a lot from you. So thank you for being here.
Sure.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you very much. So to get started, let's talk a little bit about your backstory and how it ties in, interestingly enough, to home inspections in a roundabout way.
Well, yeah, I guess going back to kind of where my official career launched, after college, I got a job with American Airlines as a flight attendant, which doesn't really seem like the direct path to home inspections, but after kind of traveling the world with my wife, and at one point I decided that I wanted to leave the airline and start teaching. And so I at heart, I'm a high school English teacher. My degree was in English and communications. So you can picture me as that goofy high school English teacher with the pads on his corduroy jacket, and but yeah. So as I got into looking at the teaching career, I realized that it was going to be challenging with income. So I thought, well, what else can I do? And I'd always been kind of a handy guy. And I decided home inspections. And I thought I'd do that as a summer job, because teachers have summers off. Not really planning for my success. But I got licensed in late 2005, 2006, and in Texas. And it just kind of took off. It really surprised me. And I realized that I could make a lot more money. And I really enjoyed inspecting homes, but really what I loved about it were those teachable moments with our clients. And I think I kind of brought a different perspective too, because I didn't come out of a trade. I came out of the airlines, which was really customer service. And so I just applied a lot of what I had learned at American Airlines, and it took off, pardon the pun.
I love that.
That's great. So
Yeah.
it is very interesting that, you got a little bit of a different perspective here on the customer experience. So has that really driven how you handle your customer experience in home inspections?
Yeah, totally. I learned a long time ago, there's the golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated, but there's the platinum rule, treat others the way they want to be treated. And when you really think about this business and what are the expectations and what do people want with an inspection, sometimes you have to really kind of put yourself in their position. And of course, if you've ever bought or sold a home and either had an inspection performed or had one done to you, you did get a different perspective about this business in a big way, because it is very personal. It's pretty intense. And, I think of the times that I have had my own homes that we've sold, inspected, and even as, somebody that's been in this business for, over 15 years, I take that report very, very personally.
Yeah.
It's hard to be objective when you're in the middle of it. And so I think the customer service side is a little bit about empathy, and understanding and realizing that if it was me, what would I want? And kind of going to that extra mile. And, there's a lot of us that we truly do inspect as if we were inspecting for our own family, for our mother, as we say, And I think if you have that perspective, that level of service just kind of comes naturally. Whatever you have inside of you is going to come out and you're going to deliver.
Yeah.
I love that.
I love that. Yeah, I do, because it really is this. I think people, they think it's about doing a great inspection, and that's just the tiniest part of it. It's really, like you said, it's making sure that they leave comfortable. It's high stress. There's a lot of emotion that goes into it. I mean, I'm seeing it now in Northern Virginia with multiple offers, low inventory. It's crazy. And people get very emotional about it. And it's just calming those nerves and making sure that they leave happy. So true.
They need us now more than ever. They need good realtors now more than ever. They need advocates, because there's a lot of people getting in trouble. They're buying homes that some of them don't even really want, but they have to have a place to live. And so if they are surprised with something after the fact, it can become a big deal, because, again, it's kind of like the sour grapes just get even more sour at that point.
Yeah.
So we really have to handle some of these folks with kid gloves and be prepared, have systems in place to protect them and ourselves as business owners as well.
That's awesome. And now how do you ensure that your team, has you started to grow from you and your multi inspectors? How did you translate what you did from the customer service side to your team members and making sure that they do the white glove service, with extreme empathy and care for the customer?
Well, first off, I hired guys that already had that mindset, because, or at least that attitude,
Yeah.
I can train anybody. I say that we can train anybody to be a home inspector, the technical side, but you can't teach them the soft skills. Those things are sort of innate in a person. And so, we do personality profiles and really kind of a background as we're considering somebody as a candidate for our team. And so I kind of try and address that on the front end. And at the same time, we just have accountability with what we do as well. So I have a team of inspectors, and I have a team captain that rides along with our inspectors, goes out on at least one inspection a week, that ensures that we are doing what we say we're going to do. And so he's kind of watching, helping, supporting, and just making sure that we're delivering on the promise that we've made to our clients. And I think that's a big part of it. And just doing things consistently. If you've got a routine of service, and the expectations are there for your employees or your inspectors, then it's really not that hard. I think they want to do that.
And when you hire someone and they see that your mission is home inspections done right, I think that can't really be, you can't lose anything in translation there. They have to see that that's the way things are going to be here.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And our mission statement, is a little bit broader than that, but ultimately, I try to give my team the best tools and the best training so they can give the best service. I've got to take care of them first before I can expect them to take care of anybody else. So it starts with me. I have to treat them as well as they are going to treat our clients. And so that's always the challenge as you grow and expand and want to give a certain level of service. You also got to have a certain level of culture and camaraderie in your own team to make sure that happens on a regular basis.
I love it. It's all tied together. And I love what you said too about when you hire, you're looking more for those soft skills, because you can really teach anybody the technical side. And that's so true. I feel like home inspectors, as they're looking for other multi-inspector, they're like, oh, does he have always handy? He has this. They're looking at like what he can do or what they can do, she can do, rather than like how they treat other people. And I think you're exactly right. And we've always hired like that. Like, I care more about like your attitude. Like, if you're a positive person, do you care about treating the customer well? Like, wow, that's one of the questions we ask even on the interviews is like, tell me about a customer experience that was not going the way that you planned, and how did you handle it? I want to know how they treated the customer in a bad situation. And that's so invaluable. It's awesome. I love that. And I think that's so valuable for our listeners to hear. So make sure you paid attention to that, because it's so true in this industry.
Yeah, I think unfortunately, we are in a society where you have to do a lot of CYA, and it's easy to get defensive. But if you approach it a little bit more from a service side, and our clients understand that we are on their side, you flip it. You are their advocate, and you always, if you do have an issue, a customer service issue, always position it that I'm on your side. it's not, me against you and the house is it's like, no, we're trying to solve this problem together. We want you to be happy with
Amen.
your home. And I think if you just take that attitude that again, you're their advocate, it just, things go smoother for them. Your clients you'll find how they'll actually come to your defense in some
Yeah.
cases, so.
I love it.
Absolutely. So as I'm reading your mission, we focus on guiding clients through their inspection, making it the least stressful, most educational part of the home buying experience. I'm wondering, while you're growing, where do you come to this revelation here? Is this something that from the get-go, right when you're just a solo shop, just you, Lance, is that what you were thinking right away? Or is this over iteration, you decided, all right, this is what our mission is because this is how we're going to grow?
Yeah, I think, of course, just kind of comes from experience. You learn, and again, empathy, having an inspection performed for you, or having had one, done on your own property, you start really kind of putting yourself in that position and understanding that that there is a certain level, a certain expectation about this whole process, and if you can set it and meet it, you're in good shape. But you gotta keep it honest and real. There's some of those things, again, I've learned over time, but I think I came into it with that perspective. Again, it's just about treating people with respect, and what would I want to know about that house, and how am I going to communicate that, and without overwhelming somebody, and where we're not there to, again, blow things up or make things more stressful than they are. They don't need to be. We don't need to be the one that's causing drama in this deal. We should be kind of that point of kind of a reality check. There's always that.
Yeah.
We are the folks that kind of pull the rosy colored glasses off, or as I like to say, sometimes it's like Joey can relate to this, the end of the night at the nightclub and the lights come on and you're like, who have I been dancing with? And so we're sort of at that sober moment, where we hope that our clients are going to go, well, okay, I see this now for what it really is, but I still love it.
Mm-hmm.
And I accept it, flaws or deficiencies and all, and I'm happy and I want to move forward.
Oh, it's so true. I love that. I love the analogy.
You can tell where I spent my days as a flight attendant.
Yeah.
So
no, I love it.
So in the last few episodes that we've talked about growth, we've had some interesting stories, around roadblocks. We've had a lot of people who have, learned a lot from roadblocks, and, that can inform you and help you to grow even more. So I'm wondering if there were any, roadblocks or obstacles along the way in your growth that you either got some interesting stories from or were able to learn a lot from.
Yeah, I have had a few. The most recent, in fact, 2018, I had a team of 10 inspectors, and then suddenly it seemed like went from 10 to 2 very rapidly. So you have this growth and this overhead, and then suddenly you realize that what you're doing isn't working for everybody, and a mass exodus. In fact, it was on my 50th birthday, and on March of 2019, I guess, is when it actually officially happened. Mm-hmm. And it was like, well, happy effing birthday to me. Oh
my God, man, 50.
It was brutal. It was brutal. And so overcoming that, also the lessons learned. I had made some hiring decisions that didn't go over well or with my team at all, in fact, and we made a lot of changes really fast. Mm-hmm. With structure and payroll, and hired a COO that we had kind of different visions about the direction of the company, and so did the rest of my team. And of course, they all started making plans to leave, and they left pretty abruptly. So to recover from that was huge. Again, It was like, is this the moment that I go under, or do we really kind of take a good look, take some inventory, take some accountability? because, ultimately it was all my fault. I mean, it was. And I think that's with any business owner. If something happens, if one of my inspectors screws up, if one of my, other team members screws up, it's my fault. It's on me. And so, but it was a great opportunity. It was great preparation for 2020. We had to get really lean and mean, look at what we were doing and be very intentional about that, because we didn't have a whole lot to work with at that point.
Yeah.
We lost a ton of our business, and we couldn't even fulfill the business that we had, and had a lot of overhead. And so I had to get very intentional about that, and then look at how's I going to rebuild it. And that's sort of how I got involved with Real Producer magazine. And I literally just dug into that Real Producer community, because when I started the business, I built it one relationship at a time, right? Like a lot of businesses. And I realized that one of the mistakes that I had made along the way is I had delegated out a lot of those relationships, and I'd lost touch with that. And that's just something you can't do, whether that be internally with your team. There's people that you just can't delegate that relationship out and trust that people are going to be taken care of. And likewise with your partners, your agents, the people that are sending you business, you got to take care of them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I kind of started back in that community of Real Producer, and happy to kind of get into that if you want to interject anything there. Real Producer magazine is a magazine that targets the top 300 to 500 agents in any kind of a distribution area. And in Dallas, my partner, Jordan Espeseth, he launched North DFW Real Producer magazine, which basically targeted all of the top 500 agents kind of in northern Dallas, Fort Worth. For folks that are around here that know it, it's like north of 635, the highway. And he called me in 2018 and said, "Hey, we're starting this magazine. Do you want to be an advertising partner?" And I'm like, "Well, tell me about it." And so he kind of explained it to me. I didn't really get it. I hadn't really considered print ad to be very beneficial as a home inspector. And he said, "Well, I meet with the top 500 agents. I meet with them every week, and your name has come up several times, your company." And I said kind of arrogantly, like, "Well, then why do I need you? If they're already talking about me, and he's like, "Well, you may want to consider this as just an opportunity to stay in front of them, kind of stay top of mind, and to continue building those relationships and nurturing those." And I said, "No, thank you." And then probably a month and a half later, I realized that one of my top agents hadn't been calling me, and I see on Facebook one of the Real Producer events that she's just snuggled up with another inspector, and and I'm like, there's a fox in the hen house. And so I realized that I had to defend my turf. And so of course I called him back, and I'm like, "So tell me more about this," but realized what I had said no to was an invitation to a great community of the best agents and the best businesses that they have referred. So the way it works is literally, we sit down with the agents and we talk to them about their business and their story. We introduce them to our partners in the magazine, our advertising partners, and then ask them who they love. And when those names come up multiple times, they kind of are vetted, and then we might consider them as partners for the magazine. So it's the best agents referring the best businesses. So there's just integrity about the group. And I use that group to rebuild my business, and it's been pretty amazing.
It sounds like it.
Before we go into this any further, because there is something I wanted to bring up. Let's take a quick break for our sponsors, and then we'll be right back.
All right.
The home inspection industry is highly competitive, and you need an edge to stay on top. You certainly can't afford to give profit away for no reason. But what if I told you credit card processors may be overcharging you and robbing you of profits you've worked hard to earn? It's time to put an end to being overcharged for payment processing. It's time to take back your profits. That's why we've put together a free report, How to Avoid Being Overcharged by Your Payment Processor. Head over to takebackyourprofits.com, download the report, and put an end to being overcharged for credit card processing. You've worked hard for your sales, and you deserve to keep it. What are you waiting for? Go to takebackyourprofits.com and download your report today.
Yep, welcome back, guys. We're with Lance. Just finished talking about Real Producers, real producers. I'm in the market for Nova, but Dallas Fort Worth real producers. And Lance, you brought up a great point when you partnered with Nova or real producers, because they're all over the country, and for inspectors that may have been involved, may not have been involved, you know, whenever you're doing a partnership like real producers that gets you access to agents, make sure you're using that group appropriately and building relationships. It's not just about paying the fee for the group. You actually have to utilize it, and really put yourself out there, because I think we tend to think if we pay for something, we're just going to get something from it. No, you actually have to be active in these things that you're paying for, whether they're real estate associations or whatever. You have to be the face. And you brought up a huge point. As the owner, you know, you're like the chief marketing officer as well too, and you got to make sure you're still, even if you're not out there doing inspections, you're finding ways to cultivate relationships that help you retain those agents. So I just want to touch on that. But you know, this is a huge marketing piece, and I know real producers is a big thing for you. But could you talk about like maybe some things that that our listeners can, actionable items and key items that they can start putting into their business that is going to help them grow their business?
Absolutely. You know, real producers for me is just a tool, is a marketing tool and a relationship building tool. One of my favorite books is by a guy named Michael Mayer, called The 7 Levels of Communication, 7L. And they use, there's just a real simple diagram of a pyramid, and kind of at the bottom of the pyramid, when you're looking at marketing, you know, ultimately you know, you've got kind of the broad approach. If you think of your Facebook and kind of your generic stuff that kind of gets you out there, and then the different layers that ultimately add up to, at the pinnacle of that, top of that pyramid, would be that one-on-one interaction, that one-on-one meeting with somebody that can influence your business, or that you can develop a true relationship with, that you can support each other, you can help their business, and vice versa. So it's getting to that. And so whatever you're doing, whatever marketing, it ultimately, it comes down to relationships. It really does. And I think 2020 kind of gave us a much clearer picture of the value of those relationships, and proved a lot of them out, right? We saw relationships, you know, either get stronger, or we just kind of went, okay, now I know, you know, now, you know, I know where I stand with that person. And so where you're going to spend your time and energy. And for me, you know, another one of my favorite books is a book by Gary Keller, you know, the owner or founder of Keller Williams Realty, called The One Thing. And it's built around Pareto's principle, the 80-20, you know, so that 20% of your activity gives you 80% of your results, and vice versa. You know, you can say 80% of your activity could only give you 20%, but if you're focused on that 20%, and if those are people, you're looking at, who do I want to do business with that's going to help me grow my business? You need to be doing business with people that are doing business. And you know, not that, I mean, everybody's valuable, but there's some people that can help your growth a lot more quickly if you can cultivate those relationships. So for me, I look at marketing as a way to cultivate relationships with people that are doing business. And again, real producers kind of been a great opportunity for me to do that, because I get to sit down with agents and hear their story. I don't have to talk about my inspection company. In fact, I talk more about other people's inspection companies. You know, it really is, and it kind of freaks them out. I've got a partner here, a advertising partner that's a home inspector, and I sent him a referral to one of the top Keller Williams agents in DFW, and he's like, "You're what? Why aren't you?" And I'm like, "Well, this is what we do. You know, you're one of my advertising partners. I want you to get value out of this and help you develop a relationship. There's plenty of relationships I can develop, but I think this guy'd be a great fit for you. I know you and I know him." And it kind of freaked him out. Like, all right, okay, you sure? You know, so,
I love it.
But I think as we truly develop relationships that are strong and have opportunities to cultivate them, we can't be everything to everybody, you know. So we can only have so much influence, and we can only spend so much time, and so we got to be careful with that, I guess.
That's
I
very.
love that. I
So
love that mindset too with other inspectors that you're looking to work with them, collaborate with
yeah,
them, even the ones in your market. You know, it's funny sometimes you show up to inspections, especially now, and there's multiple inspectors, and all the inspectors are like scared to talk to each other.
Yeah.
You know, they're like, oh no,
Yeah.
feel threatened.
Well, I remember when I first started, a guy came up to me, and he's like, "So, you're the new competition, huh?" And just in my local area, and I'm like, "Well, I'm like, no," I'm like reaching out, shaking his hand. I'm like, "Well, I'd say we're more colleagues." And he's like, "No, you're competition," and he just turned his back and walked away. And I'm like, I will never do that to
Yeah.
anybody, And so I've always viewed other inspectors as colleagues, and
Yep.
that had to have more of a blue ocean view. That there's plenty of
Yeah.
business. There is so much business in DFW. I couldn't do it all if I could get it all. So why not be generous and develop relationships that you can support each other and learn from each other. Really, I've got a solid group of inspector friends, and it's like a mastermind group.
Yeah.
We rely on each other and send each other referrals, and it's a lot more fun because particularly if you're a one-man shop, it can be lonely. But if you are a owner of a multi-inspector firm, it can get really lonely. Because everybody's expecting you to have all the answers.
I love
Exactly.
this. I think this is really a golden nugget here because it breaks down kind of the essence of what's going to help you grow with marketing. And that's community and building that community, because the technology is always changing. The marketing of tomorrow, the future of marketing is always going to be something new, but you're so right that you can always fall back on that network building. And that's what's really going to help you grow. I think that's very profound.
It's huge.
Yeah.
So going into that, I'm curious, what do you think is the future of marketing for the home inspection industry? Where do you think it's headed?
I think again, it goes back to basics. Just like, in real estate in general, there's a lot of disruptors out there, right? People are wanting more for less. And so, the realtors are being replaced by apps, and at the same time, the ones that are doing really well are the ones that have true sphere of influence and relationships, and people trust them. They know that they need more than just an online service to do a deal, particularly in this market where people are getting in trouble, and again, buying things that they don't necessarily love. So I think it's ultimately it's back to the basics. It's relationships. You can be a great inspector and have all the tools in the world, and you're going to pick up. If you've got a broad marketing campaign and that's your deal is the onesie twosies and that kind of thing, you can do that just like realtors can pay for leads and get those kinds of things. There's a lot of different ways to get business, but long-term sustaining, it's going to be relationships. And so how do you support those and continue to nurture those? And as you said, create this community that supports each other. And I think that's really what it's about. You, as a business owner, you've got to create your own community of people that you support. And that includes your partners, people that you might refer other services to, other inspectors, and of course your realtors and past clients.
I love it, man. Keyword relationships, man. Well, thank you so much, Lance, for being on. We really appreciate you coming on. I know our listeners probably got so much value from this. I got a lot of value from it. It's, and that's what it really is. Marketing is all about those relationships, especially if you want to retain business in this industry. I love it. And we really appreciate you being on here today. Thank you.
My pleasure, man. A lot of fun. Great to see you guys.
It was awesome. Thank you very much, Lance.
All right.
All right. And thank you to all our listeners. We'll see you back next week with another episode and another great guest. Signing off.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks for listening to the Inspection Pro Joe podcast. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. And don't forget to hit the bell so you won't miss our next episode. This episode was produced by Jake Aronson. This has been a Pair Payments production.